Okay, I think we'll begin. Welcome everybody. It's our pleasure to have you here to this event that is hosted by Tecnológico de Monterrey and the British Council. The topic of the day is internationalization of the higher education and the impact on cultural relations. So I will first introduce our guests, and some of them that are not in the panel, the others are in the panel with us. And the procedure of this event will be that our guests will talk around 5-8 minutes, so then we will have a conversation among us. First of all, I would like to say that Dr. Lourdes Diek Assad is here with us, the Director Campus, here in front. Ms. Judith McGregor, the Ambassador of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, is also with us. We have, as a part of the British Council delegation, 3 members. Mr. Chris Rawlings, Director of the British Council in Mexico. Mr. Peter Elwood, Regional Director of the British Council, Latin America and the Caribbean. And Mr. Juan Carlos Hernandez, Projects and Partnership Director of the British Council in Mexico. In the panel, we have, in alphabetical order, Mr. Martin Davidson, CEO of the British Council. Sir Timothy O'Shea, Principal of the University of Edinburgh. Professor Colin Riordan, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Essex. Dr. Don Notbeam, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Southampton. Professor Nigel Trift, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Warwick. And Dr. Enrique Cepeda Bustos, Vice President for International Affairs of Tecnológico de Monterrey. So, Mr. Martin Davidson, could you please begin with this conversation, between 5 and 8 minutes?
Thank you very much, Dee. Is it okay if I start from here?
Yes.
Can people hear me? Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. And could I first of all say what an enormous pleasure it is to be able to have this conversation here in Tec de Monterrey in the campus of Santa Fe. It's a university which many of us heard a great deal about, and it's a real pleasure to be able to have the opportunity to both to see your campus, but also to hear about the university. The subject that we're talking about today, I suppose the first thing to ask is, well, what on earth has that got to do with a cultural relations organization? Why is education exchange important from a cultural relations point of view? And it goes to the very heart of the nature of cultural relations. Cultural relations, as we define it, is about building long-term relationships between people based upon trust and engagement through exchanging knowledge and ideas. It's about building long-term relationships which are going to be valued for the future, and it seems to us that there are 2 critical ways in which you do that. One, you have to be attractive. You have to get people to want to be involved with you. And secondly, you have to provide opportunity. Opportunity for personal development, opportunity for family development, opportunity for social development, opportunity for national development through those international exchanges. And if you take that as the axiom of what cultural relations is about, then there are 3 critical areas which inform the work that both my organization, the British Council, does, but also what all our fellow organizations, whether they're the French, the Germans, the Indians, the Chinese, many countries involved in this area of cultural relations, and they're based on 3 critical areas. One is language, in our case, English. The second is education exchange, and the third is artistic exchange. And we have the huge good fortune from the UK's perspective in that we have in those 3 areas international, global excellence. We have the great good fortune that English language is the language of the international medium for communication, whether that is at a personal or a economic level. We have the great good fortune of having a very long and very fine history of artistic excellence and creative innovation, and a very strong background in creative industries. But perhaps most particularly of all, we also have the great good fortune to have one of the outstanding higher education systems in the world. And that provides us with a huge opportunity to build the sort of links that I've been talking about. But in each of these areas, there's also a huge amount of competition. The Chinese, for example, are investing hugely in developing systems across the world to teach young people Chinese rather than English. It's true, I think, now to say that in Anglophone Africa, English-speaking Africa, young people are learning Chinese as their first foreign language, not other languages. Spanish is clearly a global language, and there's a great deal of effort put into building that global language. The area of the arts is always one of international competition. And of course, in the area of higher education, you have to continue to run very hard indeed if you are going to stay at the front of the pack. The investment right around the world in development of higher education, whether that is in China, whether it is in India. India, I think, recently announced its intention to increase the student body by 50 million over the next 5 to 10 years. If you look at what has been done here in Mexico with this a fantastic university that you belong to, right around the world there is a huge amount of investment in the development of higher education. And if we are going to ensure that our higher education system continues to meet the needs of the UK and the British student, but also remains competitive in that international world, then it is quite clear to us that we have to internationalize our own approach to our higher education system. And what does that sort of internationalization mean? It seems to us that we have to, first of all, build stronger university-to-university links. We have to build stronger staff and student exchanges. We have to create joint courses and joint degrees. We have to find opportunities for joint research and split PhDs. And at the far end of, but nonetheless important, the opportunities for overseas campuses, overseas departments, and stronger, more physical forms of overseas cooperation. And I'm very proud to say that right across the British higher education system, universities are really focusing very, very strongly indeed in developing these sorts of links, which are going to be critical for the long-term future of our own higher education system and ensuring that our own students in the UK also have an international component of their education. If our own country is going to be able to continue to prosper in an internationalizing world, we need to have young people who have all the experience, whether it is through foreign languages, the opportunity to exchange with foreign students, the opportunity to study abroad, who have the skills that they need for that globalizing world. And it has to be said that on our side, our students are still very reluctant to study overseas. We have a massive mismatch between the number of students going from Britain to other countries and the number of students from other countries coming into the UK. And it's an area of weakness for us, which again, we need to do quite a lot of work to counter. So on the part of the British Council, what we intend to do over the next year, 18 months, to try and ensure that we provide support to this very important agenda is we first of all need to build capacity in education intelligence, to identify the key trends in mobility and to identify opportunities for UK institutions wherever they might appear. We have to develop a global program for partnerships, one which links businesses, communities and higher education together to build partnerships which are going to be benefit to both sides. And we also need to build programs which support new models of mobility and which start to rebalance that mobility equation between overseas students coming to the UK and British students going overseas. So an agenda, I think, of change, an agenda which meets the challenge of a more complex international environment, but also an environment which ensures that the UK's higher education system continues to deliver effectively for the needs of the UK as well as internationally.